IVM.
There's a quick survey to fill out on ivmpodcast.com/survey. It lets us know a little bit more about who's listening to us. And you know what? We're going to do a few prizes. So, we'll do a random drawing of maybe 10 people and we'll send you all some swag. Remember, that's ivmpodcast.com/survey where you can fill out the survey.
Do you end up using screens to babysit your children? Are you in a constant tussle between screen time and family time? In this episode of the Big Talk about Tiny Humans, Devishobha and I discuss how to prevent digital gadgets from disabling our children and our family life. We discuss 4 actionable strategies, acronymed TIME, to help you regulate screen time for yourself and for your family.
Almost every job in the world requires training, except parenting.
You need to learn parenting on the job, and that can be really hard.
Here on Big Talk about Tiny Humans, we want to help you navigate the world of parenting better and make your lives a little bit easier.
Hi, I'm Meghna.
And hi, I'm Devishobha.
Every week, we bring you the best research on parenting,
top tips from experts,
and actionable strategies to confront the numerous challenges that all parents and educators face.
So let's get started, shall we?
While playing chess with his 9-year-old daughter, Ravi hears a beep. It's his day off, but he's receiving emails from his clients in London. He figures that sending a quick reply wouldn't take too long and starts typing on his phone. Papa, idhar dekho na, his daughter calls out. She's waiting for him to make his next move. Distracted, he moves his pawn, even as he receives another notification. By the time he looks up again, his daughter is gone. Welcome to another episode of the Big Talk about Tiny Humans, where we reflect on family life in the age of technology. Nothing has reshaped our communication, our relationships, and our lives more than digital devices in the 21st century. Abundant research warns us about the harmful effects of overuse of gadgets on our kids and on our relationships. But, can we even imagine our world without these gadgets? While technology is a great enabler, it can also disable us. The cost of being able to connect with anyone in the world is that we might not be fully present with the person physically next to us. And this is exactly why we need balance. Shobha, why do you think screen time has literally taken over our lives?
Hi, Meghna. I think what you brought up is such a relatable incident. It is sad that it has become so commonplace, but it is a truth in everybody's lives now. We are all so connected and yet so distracted. And you so beautifully put it that the cost of connection 24/7 with anybody, anywhere in the world is the bonding with people next to us, the immediate family, the people who matter the most to us, right? And that was so true. And it's a sad truth, right? I think one of the things that has happened to us specifically over the last 2 years, even before that, it was definitely a matter of concern because obviously there was a social media taking over our lives. We were living our digital personas online. We had, all of us are living almost 2 lives, right? One in the physical world and one in the digital world. And managing and maintaining the digital persona has become just as important as managing your physical lives. That is the truth. And for children, it is even more of a challenge because they are thrust into this world even before they are ready for the physical world. And that is they have to manage two different personas, which is just too much.
Yeah.
And the pandemic, of course, has made it even more, it has actually thrusted upon us that we do everything online. So pehle to at least, school was physical, homework was physical. So then parents could at least say, you know what, abhi padhai ka time hai, so please put it down and just do this. But now parents are also they are not able to say what is study time, what they're doing online.
Yeah.
It's just become so, blurred. And that has its own advantages, of course. But again, the lines have blurred so much that it is just spilling over everywhere in all of our arenas of our lives. So I would just like to say that, pediatric authorities all around the world I don't know. I think most parents already know this, but again, the pressure of our lives is just so much that even though we know it, we're just not able to follow it. But the recommendation is that the American Association of Pediatrics, they recommend absolutely zero screen time from the ages 0 to 2. It is like zero completely. You cannot show your mobile to feed your child. You cannot, cannot show colors to just distract them. No sitting in front of the TV at all. It is just absolutely zero. And same for WHO, the World Health Organization also recommends the same thing. The Canadian Pediatrics Association also says the same thing. And then from 2 to 5 years of age, you are recommended only 1 hour of screen time every day. But now what has happened is that 1 hour is definitely seems like it's not enough, right? We have come to a stage where we feel that 1 hour of screen time
is too less.
Too less,
especially in the pandemic where we're all glued to our screens.
Exactly. So what will the parent do with 1 hour? Child ka to chodo, but what will the parent? How will he or she manage the entire day with all their other tasks and chores? Right.
Yeah.
So that is where what you said comes into play, where we use screen time as a babysitter, and that is the sad truth now. But the thing is, we can work around this, and we will talk about that, of course. But I think it is a mix of all of these things. I think one of the things is that nuclear families, because babysitting requires, parents have this pressure of looking after and connecting with babies all the time. And earlier, there used to be large families, and if not the mother, if not the father, there used to be somebody else to take care of the child, somebody else to connect with the child, to humanly interact, talk, native language or anything else, just play, sit down with the child and play. But now all that has come down because both parents are so busy, the lifestyles have changed. So I think all of this is an amalgamation of reasons that we have come to this spot now. Yeah.
No, absolutely. On this note, let's take a break and come back and discuss what is the problem with screens after all.
Right.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On This Round is on Me, Gauri is joined by none other than Vidya Balan, who talks about her debut Bengali film, her love for acting, and her journey as an actor so far. Speaking of Gauri Devidayal, she sits in for Varun on Think Fast with Suchita this week. Gauri, as you know, besides being an avid podcaster, is a restaurant and co-founder of Food Matters. She discusses everything that has happening in the F&B space and how the pandemic has affected their business. Tune in to Say No to Drama as Chetna is here to tell us all about what we need to remember and avoid when we embark on a new journey. Mahek and Harshit from All Things Policy talk about the Indian government promoting traditional medicines like Coronel and Giloy and how we can take a scientific approach to traditional medicine. And on The Longest Constitution, Priya talks about Indian MPs and their salaries, women's labor, tensions over commercial surrogacy, and a whole lot more. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Also, don't forget to rate us on any platform that you might be listening to us. You can also check us out on YouTube. We have a webpage, ivmpodcast.com/YouTube, where a list of all our channels are. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, SBI Life Insurance, Bank of Baroda, India Water Portal, and Max Life Insurance. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Welcome back. So Shobha, we left on a note where we were talking about, how screens have sort of taken over our lives. What I really want us to discuss next is what are the effects of excessive screen time? Because as you said, pediatric associations the world over have recommended, say, no screen time till 2 years of age. And after that, also, it has to be high quality programming with co-viewing or co-playing. So what do you think is the reason why these associations and doctors and psychologists and professionals all over the world are recommending that, we need to curb our screen time, we need to restrict it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that is a wonderful question. First thing we need to understand is that humans are wired for face-to-face interaction. And I don't say this lightly. There have been studies that say that babies born just then, like within minutes of their birth, babies can actually recognize human faces and react in a way different than when they look at other objects, even if the schematic of the object is matching the geometric schematic of the human face. Babies are wired, they are born with the ability to discriminate and identify and interact with a human face. So when babies do not get that feedback from human faces, from human interaction, from actual face to face and emotive feedback, what they are losing is a lot of neural connections that will help with their brain development. So that is a lot, because you are a clinical psychologist and you know this fact very well, that from 0 to 3 they are developing at the fastest rate, right? Their brains are developing at the fastest rate, and babies really need all the interaction, all the neural feedback for them to also develop their brains, right? Now what happens when they sit in front of screens is that, of course, screens are very addictive, and they can captivate children in a way that nothing else can, because of the colors or because of the movement, because of the sudden jerky movements and
fast
of course,
animation,
the fast
sounds.
animation, the sounds, everything, right?
Yeah.
But babies actually need the slow feedback, because they need humans to interact. Because what happens later on is that they expect everything to be moving around them that way. So what happens then is that in the real world, it doesn't happen. You don't move around like a cartoon, right? So when that happens, they easily get bored and they easily get distracted. So it becomes very difficult for them to engage in the real world. So what happens is that parents, and in fact this is a true thing, this is a study that has been conducted, that parents actually report a higher incidence of ADHD behavior among children who are given a lot of screen time, who are exposed to a lot of screen time. And this is because of, not because they are actually exhibiting ADHD behaviors or their brains are wired differently, but because of this, because they don't know how to engage, because they're so used to that. Their brains have already been wired that way. Again, so the brain wiring is one. Attention spans are definitely hijacked. They are shortened. Focus is definitely a problem when they are exposed to too much screen time from a very young age. Then, of course, there is this impulse control thing. So children who are exposed to too much of screen time, they lose the ability for impulse control, because they are, again, the same thing. They're watching and they need, when it's taken away from them, right? So it's like an addiction, and they do not know, because their brains are not yet developed. They don't know how to cope with the frustration of that lack of stimulation. And that is how they struggle with controlling their impulses. And there's another study, in fact, I would like to quote here. It says, early data from a landmark National Institutes of Health study that began in 2018 indicates that children who spent more than 2 hours a day, that's not even too much actually, 2 hours a day on screen time activities, scored lower on language and thinking tests. And some children with more than 7 hours a day of screen time experienced thinning of the brain's cortex, the area of the brain related to critical thinking and reasoning. Hence, the reason for lack of impulse control.
And what is the age range in this study?
So the age range, they say, is between 5 and 7 years of age.
Right? The preschoolers and the primary schoolers. Right. And, absolutely, I would add something interesting to that. A few years ago, I happened to interview this author. She's actually a psychiatrist. Her name is Victoria Dunkley. And she's written a book on reset your child's brain. She actually recommends a 4-week plan to how you can raise your child's grades and end meltdowns and boost their social skills and reverse the impact of screen time by having a 4-week screen fast, right? So as a family, you need to be on a fast. Of course, this is recommended for families in whom the children exhibit the kind of symptoms that you're talking about, right? Because of excessive screen time, they're almost like ADHD symptoms being seen. She actually calls it the internet, the screen time syndrome. Right? Because she says that this is a screen time syndrome in which children exhibit this pattern of symptoms. And, I happened to interview her and she pretty much said the same thing, in terms of the impact of screen time. I mean, of course, we understand, right? I mean, we are parents ourselves. We obviously want to restrict our kids' screen time. It's gotten pretty crazy, but, because of the pandemic and there's been work from home, we are ourselves sitting in front of our laptops all day long. So what I want to know, Shobha, is what can parents do for themselves? I mean, we are no less now because I find myself staring at my laptop or my mobile all day long.
Right.
So what can we do as parents for ourselves?
Yeah, that is the $1 million question all of us have. Right. So, first of all, before we get to what parents can do, I would just like to mention one more very important thing. And this should set the tone for what parents can and what parents have the power to do. Right. So, the thing is, there's a book called Screen Schooled. Okay. By Clement and Miles. Okay. And this book is actually talks about. Okay, let me come back to this. Screen Schooled is written by two veteran teachers, Clement and Miles, and they argue about how technology overuse is making our kids dumber. Now we can we can talk about this all day long because we know that. See, sometimes we as parents also, and this is quite natural, we also think that our children are just so smart and savvy with technology. They are born in the digital era. I mean, they know so much. But then what about all those skills that are required for a holistic development of the brain, of the body, of the mind, of of your personality as such? Your screens don't make your personality, right?
That's true. And all those social emotional skills, right? I mean, that's what we were talking about on the Cyrus show as well.
Exactly.
The social emotional skills are so important for a child's optimal development. And screens can't do that. They can't ensure that their social and emotional development is progressing. So
and in fact, the interesting thing is the people who make these devices and technology, because iPad is supposed to be the number one addictive device for children around the world. But the surprising thing is, and this is what they argue in this book, Screen Schooled, that even Steve Jobs prohibited.
Did not give his.
He completely prohibited
his own kids.
Prohibited screens from his children from using screens at his home, and he put them in a school that does not use digital devices for instruction. And as against all the other schools that were using iPads and other EdTech for instruction, but he put them in a school that just did not allow it.
Because these are the very people who know the addictive potential of devices, right? I mean, they made them.
You know what? There's one more. In fact, going by on the same point, Bill Gates does the same thing. He did not allow his children to also use screens, despite being the person who brought Minecraft that so many children around the world are addicted to, right? Now, that is one part. The other part is that, of course, these guys...
I have a comment to make. So actually, Shobha, that's very interesting because in my parenting webinars, whenever parents are like, "Are dekho, my 5 saal ka beta, he can operate my smartphone," I tell them the credit does not go to your 5 saal ka beta who can operate a smartphone. The credit goes to the engineer who made the smartphone in a way that from a 5 to a 50 to an 80-year-old can use the smartphone. So the credit does not really go to a 5-year-old. The credit goes to the engineer who made such an addictive and easy to use, convenient to use device. So no, absolutely,
absolutely. That was a wonderful point. What you said about the design of the device or the platform or the application, that plays such an important role. In fact, the addiction to screens is because of the way it gives them control. Like when you scroll, right? When you see immediate feedback on the screen, that is what they are getting addicted to.
Correct.
Children, they don't watch it for just the content. They watch it for the sense of control, the scrolling, the immediate feedback. They have no delayed gratification. It's just instant gratification. So all of this plays a role in their building up of these behaviors and habits, right?
Absolutely. So, same for adults. Same for
adults. Yeah, absolutely. It's even more for children because their brains are just developing, right?
But in general, and research corroborates this, in general, as humans, I think our patience levels are going down. And our impulsivity is on the rise, not just with children because their brains are developing, but even more so, like even for adults.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yeah.
So Shobha, then what can we do for ourselves? Like what can parents do because, that's what our kids are seeing all day long, right? That's what my kids are seeing, honestly. I'm glued to my laptop or my smartphone all day long, and it's work. It's not like I'm playing a game or anything. It's not like I'm having fun. So I am working. So what can we parents do?
Yeah. So, Meghna, I think you brought up a very beautiful point. Children are watching us sitting on our screens all day long. And like I said, this lifestyle that we brought upon ourselves is one of the reasons that it's almost like we are mandated by our screens, right? By our devices. And everything, connection everywhere, it just forces us to do these things. But one of the things we can definitely do is to restrict our screen time, Timebox our own use of screens, and have a very regimented use of our screen time. So in the morning, okay, before I get in there, one of the effects of too much screen time, whether it be adults or kids, is that we are losing out on sleep majorly. Second, we are losing out on physical exercise. In fact, screen time is replacing both of these critical factors for human wellness, right? So as adults, like you said, what it is doing to our children's brains is it is doing to our brains also, the adults' brains also. But it is our responsibility as adults to identify this and put some behavioral checks on ourselves. So one recommendation is to prioritize physical activity and sleep. So physical. So how do we do that? One of the rules, and I think this is recommended by Victoria Dunkley also, she says no screens in your bedroom, right? Yeah, absolutely no screens. And before bedtime, 2 hours before bedtime, you don't touch your phones. That's what she recommends.
You know why she recommends that?
Yeah.
And I tell this to all the parents in my parenting consultations. She recommends that because research tells us all kinds of screens, right? Whether it's a TV, whether it's a tablet, whether it's your laptop, whether it's your mobile, they emit blue rays. Right? The light on your screen, that's blue rays, right? And that blue rays, it goes into your brain and it shuts down the sleep hormone.
Correct.
Right? And that is why at least 2 hours. And also another thing that Victoria Dunkley says is that your brain interprets, whether it's a child or whether it's an adult, your brain represents any type of screen as a form of stress. So you actually need to, and it's okay if you're watching screen, but then after that, because your body has the stress hormone cortisol, you need to go and take it out. And how do you take it out? By moving your body, by exercising, dancing, yoga, whatever it is, or walking or whatever, right? But for kids and adults who don't do that, who do not have a healthy balance of, taking care of their basics in terms of exercising or shutting down their screens 2 hours before sleep time, these are the people for whom these effects of excessive screen time are so much more pronounced. Right? So this idea of having gadget-free times in your house, like bedtime, meal times, gadget-free zones in your house. Like, for example, bedroom is off, screens are off limits. And I know a lot of the families that I see also have the TV in their bedroom, which is not a good idea, right?
We don't have a TV in our bedroom. Yeah. For the same reason, I just put my foot down and said no TV
Absolutely
in the bedroom.
Not.
Yeah.
It's actually a very bad idea. It might sound like luxurious. Oh, we are so rich. We have two smart TVs. And in each bedroom, we have a smart TV. I'm sorry. That's not really a good idea.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Yeah. So, that's so true, Meghna. And it's really upon us as adults to model this behavior and prioritize our health and well-being. And crucial factors of these are two things, one is sleep and one is definitely exercise. And of course, nutrition ki baat to, of course, we talked about family meals where, if we look at screens and eat, we don't know what we are eating, and it can really have a huge effect on the nutrition and the assimilation in our body. So we talked about it, right? In detail.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. And also the problem with mixing screens with meals is that for kids who are still developing, being in touch with their own body cues, they won't know how much they've ended up eating, because when they're so fixated on watching something on the screen, they end up ignoring their hunger cues or satiety cues.
Yeah.
And they will not know how much to eat because they're ignoring those cues that our body gives us. And if you ignore these cues, we know that over time, they stop giving us the kind of information that we want from them. And that is also why there has been in research a link between screen time and obesity, because
Right.
not just because you end up looking at all those advertisements for junk food and processed foods and all of that, but also because in the process of watching screens while eating, we are ignoring our body's cues.
Cues. And yeah, absolutely. And you know what you said is so true, because children, I have seen, when they are hungry, they don't eat till the screen is on, okay, till the screen is switched
Oh
on.
God.
And when they are hungry, even after they are full, they just keep eating, because they know once
Because
they are done,
yeah, the screen will
screen
be
time
off.
is gone. Yeah.
So tell me, Shobha, then what can parents do? I mean, I think everybody struggles with this at one point or the other. Every parent, I struggle with this as well.
Yeah.
What to do if a child refuses to eat without screens?
So first of all, Meghna, one thing is, like we said, na, monkey see, monkey do. Pehle to hum as adults, I think we should really put a cap on our screen time and really make it a point to not bring screens during meal times, bedtimes, and family time that we have during the weekends. So schedule all of this, okay? That's the best we can do. Schedule these times and make it a rule, like a family rule, not like a rule, but a family ethic, family value kind of a thing, where we say when everybody is in coherence and everybody agrees with that, then it becomes like a nice family thing, right? You say with pride that we don't do this, and the children will also understand that when you keep reiterating these behaviors and also follow it. Now, you won't say it to the child and do it yourself, obviously that won't work. You have to also put your screens away, put it aside, and just engage with your food and with the people around you during that time. So I see that it works very well for my family. When I announce that today it's a no screen meal that we're going to have, my children get all happy, because now it's special time, right? And lunch, Sunday lunches, when you have a relaxed ambiance and have some music playing and just kind of eat slowly, look at each other, talk. I mean, that kind of brings in a very relaxed ambiance, and people are, I mean, the food that you eat really nourishes you, because it's slow and simple and not distracted, right? So that is one. So I definitely recommend, if not all days of the week, at least some days, like we spoke in the family meals episode, some days of the week we can definitely schedule screen free themed special meal times, right? Then every day during bedtime, I used to do this, but at that time screens were not so prevalent. But I remember having a long bedtime routine. I used to bathe my children, then moisturize, and then night clothes and this and that, and then almost 1.5 hours of reading and story time before they slept.
I still do that, by the way. Our bedtime routine looks exactly like that.
So that is a wonderful routine, and that doesn't even look like you're forcing them to stay away from the screens. You're not even like yanking it away from them. You're just engaging in another beautiful activity. It doesn't even seem like punishment or deprivation or anything. It's just a beautiful engaging activity. So build a routine like that, have story times, have face-to-face interaction. That works wonderfully. I have seen it with my own family. You do it as well, so I can vouch for it that it will work. And definitely, as a family, I think we should time box our screen time, restrict screen time, even for the adults, like from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, or till whatever time my children go to sleep. I will not look at my phone. And then later on, you can do your work. I mean, whatever works for you, it's up to you to schedule your day. But then time box your screen time, so the child will know that they have your full attention, right? So that's one. Isolate during important bonding activities, right? And then model behavior. When you do this and you keep doing this, right? And you can't do it for one day and then go back to what you were doing. But if you keep doing it over a period of time, it will form into a family ethic. It will get into the family fabric. There is no second guessing that. And then emphasis on sleep, nutrition, and exercise. Again, it all comes back to you do it and they watch you do it and start doing it, right? So you prioritize your sleep, your nutrition, your exercise, get allocate a time for your exercise, for all the things that will give you this sense of well-being for yourself as a person and for the family. And I think everything else will follow.
Absolutely. So I think you summarized it as TIME, time.
Right.
So T for Timebox, wherein
Hmm.
you restrict screen time, and you also spoke about co-viewing
Right.
before, right? Co-viewing
Yes.
is something which is watching the program or the movie along with your child, because it
Right.
really gives an opportunity for you to interact. For young kids, it actually gives the opportunity to interact and figure out why is Peppa Pig crying? What is the issue? What do you think can happen? That kind of an interaction. And with preteens and teens, this is what I recommend, because especially Indian parents, we are like, oh my God, kissing scene, switch it off. so I always tell parents, please use those moments as teachable opportunities.
अरे मेरे
Start
घर
to
में
have
उल्टा होता है.
discussions.
You know what? My kids are teens, and when that comes on, they are the ones who look away.
Yeah, because they're embarrassed, right? They're like, how can we watch this stuff in front of our parents? But
Yeah,
I always tell parents, how will you know what your teen already knows, right? So this is a beautiful starting point for having conversations about everything, about porn, about sex, about consent, about everything under the sun. So definitely T for Timebox, I for isolate, wherein you allocate some gadget-free zones in your family and some gadget-free times, of course. That's isolate. Modeling, of course, modeling restricting your own use. And I really like this strategy wherein, this is what I do as well. And I recommend to parents that, especially because of work from home, where the boundaries between our work space and our family space have kind of blurred, I always tell them to make some kind of a demarcation, even if it is that you're working from your dining table. Make some kind of a demarcation where if you're in that area, you're in a work zone, and when you step out, you're not in the work zone anymore. So try to not check every ping and ding on your phone. Try not to check every notification when you're spending family time. Perhaps put your phone on silent and not be tempted to check work emails. And if you do have a work call scheduled later, schedule it, because that is work time. You're on a work call. But the two should ideally not mix, which is what happened with Ravi, at the start is what I was talking about. And of course, E for emphasize the basic, your sleep, your nutrition and exercise. So we have a beautiful acronym, TIME, TIME. And these are the 4 sets of strategies for striking a balance between screen time and family time. Balance, of course, looks different in different families. How you apply the time strategies will depend on your own unique family context. I request you all to write to us on our Insta handles at Therapist Mommy and at Kids Kintha to let us know how time works for your family. Good day. God bless. This is Meghna and Devishobha signing off.
Bye.
Bye. So that's our episode for today. Thank you for listening to Big Talk About Tiny Humans, our podcast for parents and educators.
Hope you enjoyed it, and don't forget to share it with your friends and family.
Listen and subscribe to Big Talk About Tiny Humans on the IVM Podcasts app, website, and all major audio platforms. We are available everywhere.
You can follow us on social media and online. Meghna is at The Therapist Mommy on Instagram and YouTube. And you can check out her website, raisingfamilyacademy.com, for a transformative course on raising a child with emotional intelligence.
And Devishobha is at Kids Kintha on Twitter and Instagram. And check out kidskintha.com for in-depth articles and events on parenting and child development.
While you're at it, do also check out other great shows from the IVM Podcasts network at shows.ivmpodcasts.com. And IVM is on social media at IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
We'll catch you again on our next episode.
Namaste, this is Cyrus Brocha. I am part of the government cancel culture program to remove rubbish off all the different streams available. So what we have is all the collected rubbish we put together on our show. It's called Cyrus Says. It's on IVM Podcasts. You have to watch it and listen to it. It's on our app. It's on our website. It's on the YouTube channel. It's on Facebook. There are many different ways. Don't bother me and ask me how. You have to find out. We talk to different personalities. Many of them are known. Some are just people we meet downstairs and invite them up for chai. But the point is, it's fun and it's very therapeutic. So please join in and listen to Cyrus Says.
Don't you think that if everyone around you is getting smart, you better be smarter? Hey there, I'm the traveling professor Siddharth Deshmukh and I'm back with season 2 of my podcast to make you smarter. Smarter with Sid. What's this season's focus about? Well, it's about 10-minute nuggets that will make you stand out at work. It's time to go from smart to smarter. Tune in every Tuesday and Thursday and become smarter with Sid.